Welcome. It's good to be here tonight, and thank you, Chris, for letting me preach tonight. I'll try to keep it within the hour. Here we know someone is complaining so much about so many little things that you want to sing this song. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. I've known so many people like that, and I've been like that, and maybe you have too. And if you're not careful,
counseling, I get them to give a value assessment. And I don't let them look at each other's value assessment. What's your highest value? Some people value money, right? The people of Israel obviously did. And they lost, didn't they? Lost everything. Amos told them, you're going to lose everything. And indeed, they did. Some people value their own ideas, having control. Some people value doing for others, even if they don't want you to do for them, right? Here's the trick. If your values are of that level, you're going to come into conflict with somebody else because their values are going to differ for you. All couples that get in conflict will say things like, we've grown apart, right? Because their values have started to collide and there is conflict. So how do we find harmony? How do we find that peace that passes understanding that Jesus promises us? We find that one thing that's needed. That's how we do it. So what is it? Who are we? Why are we here? Where's our heart leading us? What's the highest value? And we look to that. We make that the goal, to try to live as much like God as possible. And how do we have that? Where's the template for that? And it's Jesus, right? And Paul tells us today, he says, Jesus came, he died for us. This is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For him and all things that heaven and earth were created. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all and he is in all. And he holds everything together. So it would behoove us to figure out who that Jesus is, right? In all of my time serving the church as an ordained priest, I have worked with all sorts of people. Some people were like that person. Others wanted to learn. And I say to them, look, don't ever let money be a problem. Money is never the problem. Faith is the problem. If we have faith, Jesus says, I will give you what you need to do what I'm asking you to do. So if we go by, follow our heart, we're going to be where God wants us to be. In order to follow Jesus, we have to do two things. Love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our mind. That's the highest value. And the second is likened to it, Jesus says, and he did it in the last story with the Good Samaritan, love your neighbor as yourself. You all heard him say it if you were here last week. How do we do that? Well, you have to listen. And you have to honor the people that God sends you. There's somebody new here every Sunday. Every Sunday. Whether you know it or not, there's somebody here every Sunday that's brand new. There were several this morning. You met them? Thank God we got Chris here because he goes out of his way to meet people. Those new people are God's gift to this body. Honoring God, honoring people. Everything else is extraneous, not needed, not necessary. Budgets, not needed. We can have them, but we can't be wedded to them. Organizational plans, not needed. We can have them. They help, but they're not going to get you to the kingdom of heaven. You can have all sorts of rules and regulations. You can follow programmatic style that has been created by the Master himself. But if you don't have the love of Jesus, you got nothing. Remember that. If you don't want to be that person, remember that Jesus died so that you didn't have to. This is what Paul says. And you who were once estranged and hostile in mind, doing evil deeds, he is now reconciled in his fleshly body through death, so as to present you, that's all of us, holy and blameless and irreproachable before him. That means that when you meet your Maker, God says, welcome home, son. Welcome home, daughter, because he's being presented Jesus, the image of the invisible God. We can live into that. And Paul tells us how. Provided that you continue securely established and steadfast in faith. That's all you need. That's all that's needed. Faith. Faith that God will lead you where you need to be, so you don't need to step in other people's territory just because you think it's a good idea. Wait till God leads you. Mary chose the better part. She chose to wait until God gave her command. Go, do likewise. And you'll live in the joy and the peace that passes understanding, and you'll never, ever have to worry about conflict again because you have chosen the better part. And that's good news. Those with ears to hear, let them hear.